everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Strike Noise, your weekly baseball history podcast. My name is Jeff. I am part of the show. The other part of the show is my esteemed colleague. Check that, my colleague. It is Mark A. Johnston. Mark A. Johnston, how are you doing?
Did you say I was steamed? I'm not remotely upset.
No.
Yeah, you got to take that back. I don't want people hearing that about me. I don't know what it means, but it's probably bad. Doing well, Jeff. Boy, it's trades went crazy. It was fun to watch. I'm acting like it's in the past because nobody's going to hear this until after the trade deadline's over.
Yeah, I mean, the A's, made a couple of, got rid of a couple of minor leaguers that were in the big leagues, but the Mets, I mean, if it wasn't for that booth that is so entertaining, I might say there's nothing left to watch. But
boy, fire sale! My goodness.
You want two Cy Young future Hall of Famers?
We got them.
We're gonna give one to each Texas team. If you're a Texas team, you get a Cy Young Award winner. You get a Cy Young Award winner. Everybody gets a Cy Young Award winner.
Boy, oh boy! I tell you what, that team really looked good on paper, I thought.
Yeah, they did. I mean, not many former A's on the team anymore. And of course, Mark Canha was one of my all-time favorites. And I can't really root for the Brewers because I'm rooting for the Reds. So I don't know what to do. Well, we'll give it a little bit of time. It's still fresh.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Mark, let's get right into this. First of all, this is show 222. I'm very excited. We're coming up on show 227. Which has always been my extension at work, but is also the name of the Jack Kay primetime show in the, I guess it was early 90s. Hey! With...
yes.
What's her name? There was the maid from the Jeffersons and was also in it. You know what I'm saying. But.
Yeah, I can come up with baseball player names sometimes, but maids from the Jefferson, not so good at.
No, yeah.
No. It's just me.
All right, but this is show 222. Mark, before we get too into the show, I am a little sore this week. I had to hit the ground a couple of times during my game this week, so I'm a little bruised. I'm a little sore, so we definitely need to get some BP in here, kind of warm up.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. You're a tough guy. I've seen you just brush it off.
Yeah, but one of them was super embarrassing. I know the rules of the game, not just the rules of the game, but the situational rules. You don't want to make the first or third out on third base, right? You're down by a couple of runs. You're on third base with nobody out. Make sure you don't get out and you touch home plate. Well, when you're on the field playing, all that stuff immediately goes out of your head. And I got picked off at third.
Oh, no.
After I hit a nice double down the line. I hit it really well. Then I got over to third, and then my brain kind of escaped to me.
Well, but you hit a double?
Yeah. Double helped that slugging percentage a little bit there. But
nice.
Let's get right into this, though. First of all, Mark, this is so up our alleys, I think. It's emo night at Busch Stadium on August 4th.
Oh, sweet.
This week, if you are in St. Louis and you are not going to a Cardinals game, there's really no other reason to go to a Cardinals game. But they are handing out T-shirts at this game. The font is in kind of the My Chemical Romance font, and it reads My Cardinal Romance.
Oh, I get it.
And it's got the bird there, and he's got, the St. Louis bird, and it's kind of got black eyeliner. I don't think it's cutting itself, which don't do that, and please seek help if you are a cutter. But I think this is a great thing. I have been informed within the last year that I was a huge and am a huge emo fan, apparently.
Are you?
I just thought it was rock and roll, but... These are some of the user-suggested emo team names that I found attached to this article. Death Cubs for Cutie. Very good. There's a Seattle band, too. Phillies Eat World. Newfound Orioles. The Plain White A's. Also another athletics one. The All Athletics Rejects, which I think that one fits. Spot on. Reds Jumpsuit Apparatus. The Fallout Rays. The All American Royals. That's kind of... like the All Athletic Rejects. From Autumn to Angels. Pirates at the Disco. That's a really good one. I like that one. Blue Jays Like Girls. That's another good one. And Taking D-Back Sunday.
Oh, that's good. I love Taking Back Sunday.
Yeah, now this is one I came up with. This is Cardinals specific. How about 30 Seconds to Lars? I'm very proud of that.
I like that, man. Well done.
Let's see here. Now, Mark, you and I are wrestling fans.
Yes.
Maybe not so much current wrestling, but definitely kind of WWF. Does this theme music bring to mind anybody?
No. Sorry.
Well, it is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. This is Gangrel's theme.
Oh, Gangrel, the vampire guy.
Yeah, he was the head of the Brood with Christian and an Edge at one point. They would give people blood baths and stuff. Well, I've known this for a while, but something came across my timeline. Gangrel is from Northern California. He's from the Bay Area here. Big A's fan. And he posted on his social media, it's kind of a flex. He's up high at his apartment somewhere. I'm not just somewhere on the water. I think it's probably Florida. But he's got on a Kelly Green A's hat and the A's sell shirt. And all it said was #sell and #Fisher out. So
nice.
Very excited to have Gangrel on the old Kelly Green boat. With
a little celebrity endorsement.
Yeah, another one, because I've done it. I mean, come on. We got Blake from Workaholics. We've got Tom Hanks. He's been in some things, I don't know. And then Gangrel. So,
well, Gangrel obviously being the biggest.
Oh, he trumps. Yes, he trumps everybody else. Speaking of wrestling, this is great. So Joey Votto. I mean, when I say this is great and Joey Votto, you could put a period after that. 'Cause Joey Votto's
absolutely.
Great. So he was on MLB Network last week. He was talking to Chris Russo. I think he's Mad Dog is his nickname, I think. So he's talking to Chris Russo. And apparently the week prior, Russo had said that Joey Votto and Zach Greinke, who are both wrapping up their careers, Votto says this is his last year. I think Greinke might have said the same. This Chris Russo says that these two belong in the Hall of Very Good when they retire, not the Hall of Fame.
Ooh.
So this was, Joey comes on the show with Russo, and he's just waiting. He's just waiting to address this, and this is just classic Joey Votto. I wanted to play it here.
I got something to say to you. One, a couple of months ago, you said that Zach Greinke and I are Hall of Very Good ball players. I think Zach and I would agree. You may be right, but I get the gist of what's going on here. I know what you're doing. You're looking down on us, a couple small market Midwest ball players, just because we're not big city, just like you. Mr. New York City, Sirius XM radio star, Mr. National Television, ESPN star, with your Fifth Avenue ties and your crisp pocket squares, your tailored suits and your polished shoes, and your hair, your perfectly coiffed Broadway hair. Must be nice to sit atop that Madison Avenue ivory tower, looking down on us with those luscious locks. Not everyone can be the next Roger Peckinpah, Mad Dog. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're a disgrace.
Of course, this is all tongue-in-cheek, Joey Votto, but this man, he is not just a Canadian national treasure. He is just so much awesome. And tell me he's not a big like Ric Flair fan, because
you cut a promo.
Yeah,
right?
He just cut a mid-'80s wrestling promo right there is what he did.
Brilliant.
So in the 80s, he would have definitely been a heel, but today, Joey Votto would have been the way over baby face, like the post Hell in a Cell Mankind, can't do anything wrong, breaking kayfabe for laughs, John Cena after he learned to relish the "you suck" chants. Like, that's Joey Votto in wrestling today, and I love it. I'm here for it.
I couldn't be in more agreement with you, my friend.
And another thing I would know, how is this man not taking over for Pete Rose at WrestleMania and get chokeslammed by Kane every year?
Maybe it's coming. Maybe we need to start a thing.
Yeah, I know Kane's running some city in Tennessee right now, but as the mayor, but I still think he'd come out of retirement and choke slam a major league player every year once. Not that hard. I want a Joey Votto Hall of Fame speech so bad, though. I just want a Joey Votto speech, period, at any point. But okay, we're done with the wrestling portion of the show. So everybody, if you are not a wrestling fan, you can tune back in. Mark, it's been officially announced. Big Sexy is hanging it up. Not
for
you.
Real.
Yeah, not you. You'll still be here. Listeners, don't worry. Mark is not retiring.
I'm medium sexy.
Bartolo Colon will officially retire, and he's going to do so as a member of the New York Mets on September 17th. He's 50 years old now, hasn't pitched in the majors since 2018.
Wow.
But he is going to finally officially retire. 21 years, record of 247 wins, 188 losses. That's pretty good. I mean,
absolutely.
Like 250 is becoming that kind of win total that you can't even see anybody getting to anymore, let alone 300. But he finished with 247, a 4.12 ERA. Let's see, he appeared in 565 games, played for, and write this down, Immaculate Grid people, Cleveland, the Angels, the Mets, the A's, the White Sox, the Twins, Atlanta, Boston, Texas, Montreal, and the Yankees.
Wow.
So that's a lot of teams right there. Who do you use more in the grid, Bartolo or Ricky?
Because I, for some reason, have Ricky on my mind. He seems to come up at least once a week, for me anyway. I use Ricky a lot.
I do too. I use Bartolo a lot just because I'm going for that lower score, and I figure most people he's down the list a little bit. But yeah, there was one grid earlier. I think it was last week where I think Ricky could have filled 4 boxes in one grid.
Wow.
Who is your most used player? Who do you use the most?
That's a really good question. I'm not positive on that one, pal.
Because I think Bartolo is for me. I use him a lot. He and Ricky, but again, I try to stay away from using Ricky just because that's gonna make my score go up a bit. Yeah. And in case you're wondering, that's going to do it for the Immaculate Grid talk for this week. So it's just, we need to section these off so that people know when we're done with certain topics.
There you go.
Let's see. Mark, this show is debuting on August 2nd. So we've got some debuts that happened this day throughout the history of baseball. Today in 1907, the big train, Walter Johnson, made his debut. Let's see. Walter Johnson debuted with the Washington Senators, lost the game 3-2 to Detroit, and he gave up the very first hit in his career was a bunt single by none other than Ty Cobb.
Wow. Well, that's one way to start off.
Yeah. Speaking of wins, in his 21 years in baseball, 417.
Woo.
Compared to the 279 losses. I mean, this is just full of black ink here. Let's see, led the league in wins 4 years in a row, and then 5 out of 6. Still holds the all-time record for complete game shutouts with 110. 531 complete games in his career. Jeez.
That's just nuts.
I mean, how many games did I say Bartolo pitched in? He pitched in 565 games.
Goodness gracious.
He pitched in 30 more games than the big train had complete games. That is incredible.
That is amazing. I mean, do you think his arm hurt every day all the time?
I mean, it had to have, but obviously the mechanics and the pace at which you're throwing the ball and so forth were a lot different. Sure. In the early 1900s. Let's see. Walter Johnson won 2 MVP awards. One in 1913 and then one in 1924, 3 Triple Crowns, 5 ERA titles, and in 1924 was he member of the Senators World Series team. That was his one World Series win. Boy, he only appeared in the postseason twice. 1924, when he was 36 years old, only went 1-2, and then the next year they got back and lost to the Pirates, where he went 2-1. So, geez, not a lot of postseason action for him.
Bummer.
He must have been very excited at age 36 to finally get to a World Series. This is a quote from Ty Cobb, by the way, the aforementioned one who had a bunt single in his first game. He said, quote, "The first time I faced him," which means he got a bunt hit off him, "I watched him take that easy windup, and then something went past me that made me flinch. The first thing just hissed with danger. We couldn't touch him. Every one of us knew we'd met the most powerful arm ever turned loose in a ballpark," end quote.
That's a nice thing to have said about you.
Yeah. I mean, it's BS because, he turned around and bunted. So
Sure.
still a nice thing to say. Founding member of the 3,000 strikeout club for his career. And I say founding member, he did it in 1923. That's when this club was established. The next pitcher that did it was Bob Gibson, 50 plus years later.
Wow.
As I said, well, maybe I didn't say, I was thinking it, inaugural member of the Hall of Fame in that first class in 1936. And this is something I think we've mentioned it before, but it's always fun to talk about this. He supposedly replicated a feat that it has been said George Washington did before him, where the founding father of our country supposedly threw a silver dollar across the Rappahannock River. Though it's still disputed whether Washington himself did this, and I have never heard that George Washington had a great arm. And he's a known liar. So, I don't know about this. But Johnson did prove that it was physically possible because he did it.
Wow.
I don't know if he skipped
awesome.
it or if he threw it, but he got it across. Next, 1959, making his debut today, Jim Kaat.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, won 16 consecutive Gold Glove Awards, 1962 through 1977. Also set the 20th century record by playing during the most presidential administrations.
Oh, wow.
So he played for 25 seasons. He played while Dwight Eisenhower, JFK, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, and Ronald Reagan were in office.
That just blows me away, to put it that way.
Yeah, that's a lot. Guess who equaled this mark?
Would it be Nolan Ryan?
It would. Yeah, he retired during Clinton's administration in 1993. Let's see. Jim Kaat, also a big golfer. Apparently, 10 years ago, he shot his age, which means he, however old he was. What was he? I could do math, but I'm not going to.
Oof, mathematics, no.
Let's see. He was actually 74, so he shot a 74, which is only 2 over, which is very good. Wow. He did that while playing right-handed, a feat that he had previously accomplished 3 other times playing left-handed.
Okay, that just makes me mad.
That's impressive.
I can't play golf from either side.
No, it's impressive to shoot your age when you're in your 70s, absolutely. But to do it with your non-dominant hand, I mean, that's great.
That's showing off is what that is.
Yeah, so Jim Kaat, 3-time All-Star, member of the 1982 St. Louis Cardinals when they won the World Series. And as I said, 16 Gold Gloves. That is just incredible. There was 2 years where he didn't win it. Looks like he was injured for one of them. I mean, Rafael Palmeiro won one when he didn't play a single game at first, right? So
that is unfortunate.
Why not just let him have it, keep that streak going? Also making his debut today in 1973. We got a lot of Hall of Famers here. If I didn't mention, Jim Kaat was inducted last year via the Veterans Committee. Another Hall of Famer making his debut today in 1973, none other than the mullet, George Brett.
Ooh.
That's one of our show favorites here. Only player in Major League history to win a batting championship in 3 different decades. So we've got a lot of guys that debuted today that A, went into the Hall of Fame, but 2, had some really long careers when we're talking about, how many presidential administrations and how many decades they played in. So pretty impressive. He hit .333 in 1976, .390 in 1980, and .329 in 1990. But we don't talk about that because he sat out the last game or 2. Ricky didn't win the batting title. But beyond that, George Brett, he was MVP in 1980, a member of the 1985 Royals, of course, a 13-time All-Star. Won 3 batting titles and was the ALCS MVP as well. Some other things, one of 5 players to have 3,000 plus hits, 300 plus home runs, and a 300 plus lifetime batting average. The other 4 are Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Stan Musial, and Miguel Cabrera.
Those guys are good.
I mean, if you're being mentioned in a sentence with those 4 other people, that's pretty impressive. Some other important things about George Brett. He appeared as himself on an episode of Fantasy Island, which I've covered. before. Let's see, an episode of Modern Family, Arliss and Brockmire. He also appeared as a member of the Swedish Olympic hockey team in the 1981 version of Miracle on Ice about the 1980 U.S. hockey team. And at one point, he was a pitchman for Spot Built shoes and then Puma. So a lot of shoes and 7-Up.
Well, that's a happy one.
And our final debut today, another Hall of Famer. This is going to be 4 for 4. 1990 Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt, made his debut.
To much fanfare.
Yeah. Let's see. 521 career home runs. That's a lot last time I checked.
My goodness.
A 301 lifetime batting average. There are only 5 players in the history of the game who have hit both more home runs and have a higher career batting average than the Big Hurt. That is Hank Aaron, Jimmy Fox, Willie Mays, Babe Ruth, and Manny Ramirez.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Again, some really good names. Manny Ramirez kind of sticks out there. Let's see, 7 consecutive seasons with a 300 or better batting average and at least 100 walks, 100 runs scored, and 100 RBI, along with 20 home runs. 7 consecutive seasons of that.
That's very impressive.
The only other player to have more than 5, Ted Williams, who had 6. So again, just names that...
Good company to be in.
This is how you become a Hall of Famer. You get spoken about in sentences with those kind of names. Was simply known as the Rookie in Mr. Baseball, one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. It's a bit of a shock, though, to see Frank Thomas wearing Yankee pinstripes.
That might, I have a cousin who that might actually cause some very bad physical damage if you were to see that.
Let's see. Frank Thomas was in the Holy Grail as well of baseball players in primetime sitcoms that wasn't Seinfeld, The Simpsons, or Sabrina the Teenage Witch. He was in the We're on Strike and Have Nothing Else to Do, so let's all appear in an episode of Married with Children in 1994.
Oh, yes.
We've referenced that many times. He starred alongside Mike Piazza, fresh off his Baywatch appearance. Brett Saberhagen, not rapping. Danny Tartable, not riding in a car with somebody flipping people off. Dave Winfield, not killing seagulls. And my favorite, Joe Morgan.
Nice.
I wasn't going to include this in a debuts because he's not a Hall of Famer, but we talked about him in regards to the Hall of Fame recently. Making his debut today in 1997 was Todd Helton.
Oh, yeah. Should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, we're both pro Todd Helton here. Received a scholarship for the University of Tennessee to play both baseball and football. 1994, his junior season, Jerry Colquitt, who was the starting quarterback apparently at Tennessee, was injured. Helton took over the reins as starter. 3 weeks later, he was injured, and somebody who I've actually heard of, Peyton Manning, became his replacement as a true freshman, and I guess he went on to do some stuff in the NBA, is it? Or WNBA? What? No, the NFL. NFL. There we go.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. I couldn't think of it. I was puzzled and I was starting to Google it.
Yeah. So Helton, the first major league player in history to have 35 or more doubles for 10 consecutive seasons.
Nice.
2 notes here. I like to do this kind of today in baseball history to go along with debuts. Today in 1921, a Chicago jury found the Black Sox that were on trial not guilty, or on trial as opposed to the trail. They found them not guilty. That night, the jurors, along with those that were on trial, went out and celebrated together at an Italian restaurant.
It was an interesting time.
Yeah, so Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis, who was, of course, the commissioner at that point, ignored this civil verdict and banned all 8 defendants from baseball for life. And then finally today in 1938, Larry McPhail had some baseballs dyed dandelion yellow, and they were used in the first game of a doubleheader between the Dodgers and Cardinals at Ebbets Field. The Dodgers won 6-2. They used up those yellow balls in the next 3 games. So I did not know that. I mean, you and I, we've talked about the yellow balls that Charlie Finley was trying to get along with the designated hitter, and that never never happened, but apparently they have been used in actual Major League games before, which is something I was not aware of.
No, I did not know that either.
All right, Mark, that's going to do it for our BP segment. Grounds crew's already on it. They're out here watering down that infield. They've already dragged it. Chalk looks beautiful today. Apparently, while we were on the road last week, they had a concert, so the outfield grass looks like crap, but infield, it looks beautiful. All right, Mark, I got something today. This is one of those things that I've becoming infamous for, at least in my own mind, where I find an old-timey article that might be 3 to 7 sentences long, and I make a whole story out of it. And this is one of them. So,
right on. Those are my favorites.
Yeah, well, they turn out to be my favorites too, because I just keep going down rabbit holes as I do some research into these. So I want to talk today about spitballs. They were a thing. We're not going to talk about spitballs per se, but I just want to lay a little groundwork here. Obviously, spitballs were legal for a while. They were kind of a dangerous thing. Just imagine that back in the time when spitballs were illegal, you didn't use that many baseballs during a game. Just a couple of them. They just keep using them until literally they fell apart. So you're using those. They're getting dirty in the first place because normal wear and tear. It's a sport. It's played on dirt and grass. Now imagine if the pitcher is also loading that ball up with spit or tobacco or hair dye or motor oil or black gold or Texas tea, whatever's available to get, a little bit different movement on it. It's going to get pretty dark as the game drags on. And if that sun starts to go down, that thing's going to get even harder to see. So it posed a danger. So you can see why baseball outlawed the use of it after the 1919 season, as if they had nothing else to focus on after the 1919 season.
Right.
They had jurors going out with White Sox. I mean, it's a pandemonium. But what if your team isn't utilizing a spitter, but the other team is? How do you counter that? Well, St. Louis Browns captain Harry Howell asked his team, hey, what can we do to counter a spitball? Literally what I just said before, but I just said it as if I was Harry Howell. So he got his best minds on it. According to this article, a guy called Charlie Moran, nicknamed Uncle Charlie, not a pitcher, unfortunately, who this article lists as a Georgetown College graduate, despite the fact I can find zero evidence he ever attended any school called Georgetown anything. He did attend the University of Tennessee for a single year to play football before leaving for Bethel College. He did go on to actually become a Major League Baseball umpire, but I could not find a single thing about him playing professionally. Regardless, this article describes Moran as a, quote, amateur chemist who spends his spare moments experimenting with chemicals, end quote.
That just sounds dangerous. I'm sorry. If you're going to have a hobby, chemistry, really?
Yeah, it was just every waking moment that he is not doing something, he is experimenting with chemicals. That's
great.
This article, by the way, never mentions how Charlie is associated with the team. He wasn't a player, as I said. He was just, I guess, a team chemist on retainer. I don't know. I didn't know they needed chemists back then. I thought A-Rod and Jose Canseco were the first players.
I think they had apothecaries.
Oh, well, yeah. Apothecaries on call. So the Detroiters, as they are called in this article, come into town, and Frosty Thomas was scheduled to throw against St. Louis here, and he employed a spitball. Side note, I could find nothing saying Frosty Thomas actually threw a spitter, but he did throw an unorthodox knuckleball that people often mistook for a spitter. In something right out of the WWE, I lied earlier. We're not done with wrestling talk.
Ooh.
And again, I'm taking most of this article with a very large grain of salt. And I quote from the article here, Coughlin of the Detroiters was seen by hundreds go to the bench, stoop down, reach into a satchel, and take out a dark brown bottle filled with some mixture. Abstracting the cork. Oh, we've got a highbrow author here, if you haven't noticed. He extracted the cork. He took the cork out. Was that so hard to say? Acting like a 13th century poet reading this crap. Okay, back to the quote here. Quote, abstracting the cork, he poured the contents of the bottle into the pocket of his glove and rubbed the ball into it, end quote. So, there's some information missing here, but I have deduced from this is that Coughlin was on the bench and a game ball rolled into the dugout. He procured it, for those of our listeners who speak in iambic pentameter, grabbed a bottle out of his bag, poured its contents into his glove, then rubbed the ball in his glove, all without the umpire seeing it, but in full view of the crowd.
That is impressive, David Copperfield.
So this is stuff Vince Russo couldn't even write, this kind of stuff. So the crowd reacted, right? They see this happening, but just like dangerous Danny Davis, the umpire just missed seeing this. Must have been distracted by Miss Elizabeth in the other dugout or something. I don't know. But it's okay, because the Browns had their own amateur apothecary, I'm going to say that now, from an unknown school on the case. So Harry himself or somebody else soaked their hands in benzine, which supposedly counteracted the effects of the mystery liquid from this mystery bottle. Now, a couple of things to clear up here, as this article seems to have left a good bit out. First of all, what was being rubbed on the ball by the Detroiters was probably licorice juice or spit.
Now a chemist would take years to come up with that.
Yeah, who does that? I don't know exactly what it was, but that's what most people rubbed spitballs up with. Licorice or another licorice-related liquid. So why didn't the pitcher, instead of doing this big thing in the dugout, why didn't they just channel their inner Turk Wendell and put some licorice in their mouth and eat it? Spitballs are legal at this point. You get some fresh stuff from the source. I mean, just spit on the ball. It's called spitball after all, right? Or lick your fingers with it in your mouth. Licorice, that is, not the ball. I mean, you could also just put the ball in your mouth if you wanted to
if you're able to do that.
I'm not going to judge.
I would suggest trying it.
Next, the word benzine is not used in this article until the second to last sentence. Now, there's no context to it. If it's just benzene itself, it's a mixture. What the heck is it? First, let it be known that benzene is a volatile, flammable petroleum used especially as a solvent or as motor fuel.
Okay.
So the Browns are just walking around with guys with flammable fuel on their hands in case somebody happens to pour licorice juice on a ball. This is a sentence I just said.
Boy, I'm trying to make heads and tails of it, man. That's absolutely bizarre.
So these are two sentences using the word benzene used recently in newspaper articles. All right, here is one. Quote, someone had been killed in the chair, their body dragged to the closet, then later removed, soaked in benzene and ether and ignited, end quote. Another one, quote, accordingly, his lieutenants doused his body in benzene, lighted it on fire, burned it in a nearby shell crater, end quote. Okay, this is not stuff to fool around with. I just hope nobody tried to give any of these guys a hot foot while their hands were soaked in benzene.
Ooh, that would have been a sight to see, I'll tell you that.
Oof. Say what you will about Jorge Posada or Moises Alou, but they're not going to be engulfed in flames if they get too close to a candle.
Of course, that is the solution to the problem.
So are you hypothesizing that instead of benzene, they could have just urinated on the baseball?
Oh, I think if their hands caught fire, they should urinate on those.
Oh, okay. I see you're putting out the fire. Okay, maybe maybe they teach that at this Georgetown college that I can find no record of. I don't know. The final sentence of this article is the chef's kiss, though. It says, quote, the discovery is a great one, and as Moran intends to have it patented, he may quit the ball field and may live off the proceeds of his clever invention, end quote. Right. So he's going to live off of this formula, by the way, which the paper then prints in the article. Methinks there might not quite be the market this supposed Georgetown grad thinks there might be for licorice remover for a baseball.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. In case you're interested in counteracting a spitballer at your company softball game, all you need, according to this article, is a small bottle of benzene, which, if ingested, of course, could cause you to suffocate due to accumulation of fluid in your lungs, as well as seizures, paralysis. And if you do survive, you can have potentially fatal lung damage, severe skin irritation, burning, and blisters. So I hope nobody's rubbing their eyes after putting this on their hands. Okay, so back to this concoction. One small bottle of benzene. Small up to the user, I guess. It's your call what small is. 1 cake of soap, which happens to be my least favorite kind of cake. Water, a bucket full. That's what it says. And finally, waste. 1/2 pound.
Waste?
Waste. Maybe that's how he's going to patent this, because there are really no measurements here. Just add enough of this until you think it's enough, and then add a little more. I don't know what the heck this genius thinks putting flammable fuel that could kill you all over yourself. What does he consider waste, if not that? I don't know.
I don't want to know.
By the way, there is a 4-panel cartoon accompanying this article, which depicts Moran in different states of experimenting with different chemicals before eventually coming up with this genius, totally safe and totally not flammable or toxic mixture. In this cartoon, also pictured is lye, which we've talked about that. It used to chalk the base paths with that. That's why players wear sanitary socks so they don't get poisoned by it. Not good stuff. Another thing you can put on a body to help get rid of it if you are ever murdering somebody. Not that you heard it from me or this podcast. It was Mark.
No.
Also depicted a bottle of anti-licorice.
I didn't know there was anti-licorice.
Didn't either. But question, Mark. If there was already something called anti-licorice, why not use that?
Yeah, the anti-licorice apparently wasn't anti-ing enough.
It probably wasn't flammable. I would have gone with that. In this cartoon, by the way, they draw what waste is. It's depicted as a rag used solely to wipe the stuff on the ball. So if that's what waste is, I was thinking rag. Like nuclear waste or a super site, something like that. But my favorite part of this cartoon, though, is Moran looking at a licorice-soaked ball under a telescope. Now, I said telescope because this is not a microscope. He is looking through a long lens at this thing. But while he's doing that, this is he's got a speech bubble above him, and it says, "I can see microbes." Microbes is spelled capital MIKE-ROBES.
Mike
Like if your name is Mike and you own several robes. Those are microbes.
He can see you.
He can see that. So make sure to tie it up front. You know what? Well, Harry Howell, the captain here who went to his apothecary on call, he played for 13 seasons in the big leagues. He finished with a record of 131 and 146. Interestingly enough, Baseball Reference lists Howell right next to Ray Caldwell in the similarity scores. Now, if you're a fan of this show or baseball in general, that name probably, something about Ray Caldwell. Had he soaked his hands in benzene, he might not have been able to finish that one game in 1919 when he was on the mound and was struck by lightning.
With the benzene, he could have caught fire.
Yes, he could have very well. He could have died on the mound. He could have burnt. Like there could have just been a pile of ash there.
Like a Spinal Tap drummer.
Oh, yes. Yes, those Spinal Tap drummers and pitchers who soak their hands in benzene.
Yes, all in the same category.
Yeah. Ray Caldwell was, by the way, one of those pitchers who was grandfathered in after the ban on the spitball. I didn't know that. There you go. There is an article about how the St. Louis Browns totally defeated the spitball very easily with a little help from chemistry.
Man, that was a good story, man. All
right, that's going to do it for the main segment of our show. It is time that we head into the final segment of the show. It is the segment that we have called since we started doing this and then paid somebody some money to do a theme song for it. It's time for Wax Pack's Hero.
Wax Pack Hero! Gonna pull a Wax Pack Hero! Don't stop!
If you're new here, this is the segment of the show where we open up some old baseball cards from the Wax Packs / Junk Wax era, and we look at them. But fortunately for you, we do more than that. We also talk about them. We take their baseball reference score of the year of the cards that we are looking at, and we add those up. What happens then is we determine who has the highest score at the end. But that's still not enough for us. We still want more rules, because who doesn't love rules? So what we do, anything on the player's face in the card, that means glasses, mustache, eye black, anything like that, you're going to get an extra 1/10 of a point. If we deem it a just top-notch mustache, you can get an extra bonus 1/10 of a point as well. If they're wearing real stirrups and sanitary socks that we can see, that's an extra 1/10 of a point. But if they're wearing the 2-in-1s, that's a minus 1/10 of a point, because we don't like the way that looks. If they won an award the year of the card, that means Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, MVP. If they were an All-Star or they won the Jim Cott / Greg Maddux Award, otherwise known as the Gold Glove, you get an extra 1/2 a point for each of those. If there's a Hall of Famer on the card, whether they're the focus or not, that is a whole extra point of war. And if Ricky Henderson shows up in either my pack or Mark's pack, I get 5 points regardless whose pack it shows up in. And if Nolan Ryan does, same thing, Mark gets all the points. Also, pop culture references. We're going to give an extra 1/2 a point for each of those, unless they appeared in either an episode of Seinfeld, The Simpsons, or Sabrina the Teenage Witch, in which you get a whole point in there. Steve Sachs, right off the bat, you get 2 whole points because he was in The Simpsons and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. You can't beat that. Also, Mark, you and I are both going to pick a team. And if my team shows up in either pack, I get a 1/2 a point. Your team, you get a 1/2 a point. Who are you going with today?
I think I'm going to go with the St. Louis Cardinals.
I was going to go there. Can I take the Browns?
The Browns, yes.
Since you took St. Louis and I was going to take the Browns, I'm going to take the Orioles because that's where they moved to.
Makes sense.
Let's see here. And also our final rule, as if there weren't enough. But if the player ever appears in the Mitchell Report or was suspended for using PEDs, that's a minus 1/2 point because that's not cool. All right, Mark, today we are dealing with some, I'm still going through these rack packs, but today we are dealing with some 1990 Fleer cards. So I've got 2 of the 3 rack packs here, one in my left hand, one in my right hand. Which one would you like?
I'm going to go right.
Going to go right. All right, I'm going to have you go first, as usual. You've got a sticker here. You've got 4 miniature stickers. Twins, Yankees, Padres, Giants. No Cardinals, so no bonus points for you.
No points.
No. All right, let's start off here. You've got a Houston Astro. You'll like it. It's Bill Doran.
Hey, one of my favorites of all time. Fantastic second baseman, switch hitter. He's one of those quiet but got it done kind of guys, you know.
Let's see, 12 years in the big leagues for Houston. He was there 9 years, 3 with the Reds, 1 with the Brewers. And in 1990, he split time between Houston and Cincinnati. He hit 300 that year, a 411 on base. Wow. 7 home runs, 37 RBI, 23 stolen bases, and a 135 OPS plus. And that is good enough for a WAR of 3.4.
Solid. Billy Doran, baby.
It wasn't Doran on that. He was on the Reds in 1990 that we don't talk about, wasn't he?
I believe he was, yeah.
Let's see. Has 3 children, Dana, Amy, and Ryan.
Let me guess. Ryan named after Nolan.
Named after Ryan Howard.
Oh,
yeah.
Bummer.
Somehow he knew that was going to happen. Yeah, we've talked about this. And his sister Denise, Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. But
That's right.
Very good start there, 3.4. All right, Mark, next you have got a member of the Oakland Athletics. So this is going to be good. He's got eye black and he's got flip downs, which is automatically cool. He was a Rookie of the Year. That still doesn't narrow it down. It's Walter Weiss.
The great Walt Weiss. Shortstop, manager, all-around good guy.
I don't know why I always try to work him into Immaculate Grid, but Oakland, Colorado, Atlanta, and Florida in his 14 years. Of course, he went on to manage, I believe, in Colorado for a little bit as well. In 1990, with the A's, 138 games. He hit 265, a 337 on base, 2 home runs, 35 RBI, 9 stolen bases, a 90 OPS plus, and that will equal a 4.2.
Wow. I didn't see that coming.
For Walt Weiss, plus the eye black and the flip down. So that'll be a 4.4 right out of the chute for you with Walt Weiss. First round draft pick by the A's, number 11 overall in the 1985 draft. Boy, he was traded to the Marlins for literally nobody. That's not cool.
This is interesting. In 2022, he was offered an interview for the Miami Marlins vacant managerial position, but turned down the opportunity.
Wow. Jeter was still the owner at that point, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. He's like, I don't want anything to do with this organization. All right. So nothing else there. You're at 7.8 after 2 cards. Oh, wow. This is a good pack so far. One of your guys from Atlanta, David Justice.
Just ice.
I like when we get him in wax packs because we've talked about him so many times. We can get through it pretty quick.
Yes.
Atlanta for 8 years of his 14 years, also in Cleveland, New York, a Yankee in pinstripes there, and a member of the A's his final year in 2002. 1990, his second year in the big leagues, he was a rookie. Still technically that year, won Rookie of the Year, also got MVP votes. 282 average, 373 on base, 28 home runs, 78 RBI, 11 stolen bases, and a 143 OPS plus. That is good. 2.9 more. Less valuable than Walt Weiss.
Or Billy Doran, right?
It's a little surprising to only be a 2.9 there for Justice. Let's see, traded by the Braves with Marquise Grissom to Cleveland for Alan Embry and Kenny Lofton. Pretty good. Then the Yankees traded him to the Mets for Robin Ventura. So some big names there. I think we can go ahead and give him pop culture reference for being portrayed in Moneyball, but he also appeared in the Mitchell Report. So
yes,
I think we're going to go ahead. We'll just call that an even. Well, no, he was on Celebrity Wife Swap. I'm going to have to give you a half a point.
Okay. I forgot about the Celebrity Wife Swap.
Yeah, you don't get on Celebrity Wife Swap and then not get rewarded for it.
That was a weird sentence.
Okay, next. Wow, this looks, he looks very strange here in a Yankee uniform here, because definitely not who you and I think of this guy playing for. It is Mike Blowers. Mike Blowers, 11 years in the big league, 6 with the Mariners, 3 with the Yankees, 1 with the Dodgers, 1 with Oakland. Let's see, in 1990, his second year in the big leagues with the Yankees, 48 games, a 188 average, 255 on base, 5 home runs, 21 RBI, and a 60 OPS plus, and that is a minus 0.8.
I'm going to have to take this up with him.
Wow, minus 0.8. And there's nothing on this card that's going to help you out, unfortunately, there. Let's see, he was drafted 4 times before finally signing. He was drafted by the Mariners in the 8th round in 84, the Giants in the 2nd round in the supplementary draft in 84, the 4th round by the Orioles in 85, and then the 10th round by the Expos in 86, and elected to sign with them.
Flowers born in Würzburg, West Germany, back when there were 2 Germanys.
Yeah, one of those rare guys that was born in Germany that has played in baseball.
Yeah.
Only 44, as a matter of fact. The most recent of which, Brendan Donovan, apparently.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, he also played 73 games with the Hanshin Tigers in 1999. He's got some health issues right now. Hasn't been in the booth for most of the year, but Mike Blowers. All right, next. Oh, wow, this is a good pack. This is really a good pack. Next here with the Chicago White Sox, a very young-looking Sammy Sosa.
Wow. Well, we can go ahead and do the Mitchell Report.
Yeah. I'm just going to put the minus 0.5. But he's got a lot of pop culture stuff too, so I'm going to guess it'll get wiped out here. Not sure you're going to get a whole lot here in 1990 from Sammy Sosa. Overall, 18 years in the big leagues, 13 with the Cubs, 3 with the White Sox, 2 with the Rangers, and 1 with the Orioles. In 1990 with Chicago, 153 games. That's the Chicago White Sox. Hit 233, 282 on base, 15 home runs, 70 RBI, 32 stolen bases, and a 92 OPS plus, and that will equal a WAR of 0.5. He does have a mustache as well, so that will be a 0.6. We're just going to call it even on the old pop culture and Mitchell Report list. I think that'll be a white.
Makes sense.
Let's see. At one point, was traded by the Rangers with Wilson Alvarez and Scott Fletcher to the White Sox for Harold Baines and Fred Manrique.
Sosa was once placed on the disabled list for back spasms after he sneezed really hard at his locker.
You know what happens. It happens.
I've sneezed pretty hard, but wow.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
also,
on the IL.
you don't take steroids. You don't have like a million
that would be a heck
muscles.
of a sneeze, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I see what you're saying. That's like a typhoon.
Yeah, that could be. You would want to see an apothecary about that. Maybe
Yes,
put some
exactly.
benzine on it. I don't know. All right, let's see. So you are at. I don't think I totaled that up, did I?
No, but go ahead.
Let's add. Let's see. You are at a 0.5, and then we were going to wipe, and then you get a mustache, so it'll be a 0.6. That's the shorthand version of Sammy Sosa. All right. Next, you have got a Texas Ranger with some eye black and a mustache, so that's a good start. It's Cecil Espy. 8 years in the big leagues, 4 with Texas, 2 with the Bucks, 1 with the Dodgers, 1 with Cincinnati. In 1990 with the Rangers, only 52 games, hit 127. Yikes.
Ouch.
235 on base, no home runs, 1 RBI, 11 stolen bases.
That's what he did.
Yeah, he's basically a pinch runner, it looks like. And overall, that'll be a minus 0.5.
Yikes.
The mustache and the eye black will only make it a minus 0.3 for you, so it's not that bad. First round draft pick, 8th overall by the White Sox in the 80 draft. Was once traded with Sid Bream to the Pirates for Bill Madlock. All right, so you're at 10.2 with a couple of cards left. You have got, with Atlanta... He's got a mustache. You got that going for you. Andres Thomas, shortstop. I don't think 80s packs usually counted unless there was an Andres Thomas in it.
I was going to say, I have a few Andres Thomas commons somewhere, and then I remembered like everywhere. So
Yeah, I was wondering where mine were, but then I remembered I wallpapered the entire house in them. So that's where they are. But Andres Thomas, 6 years in the big leagues, all of it with Atlanta. 90 was his final year. He appeared in 84 games, hit 248, 302 on base, 5 home runs, 30 RBI, and a 48 OPS plus. And that is a WAR of minus 1.8.
minus 1.8.
That might be
killing me, Thomas.
That might be why it was his final year. Career WAR of minus 5.7. He had one season. 1986 is the only season that his WAR was not negative.
Wonderful. Talk about a space filler. My gosh.
Yeah, that's you know what though? He played for 6 years in the big leagues, so
This is true.
I'm jealous. Let's see. Free swinger prompted at one point Atlanta broadcaster Hall of Famer Don Sutton to ask during games, why would you even throw him a strike? Also listed as an erratic fielder.
Oh, even better.
So he can't hit and he can't field.
But he has a little bit of power. That's it.
And he can run a little bit. Okay, so you're at 8.5. Next, you've got third baseman for the Chicago White Sox. It's Nolan Ryan's buddy, Robin Ventura.
Well, this could be some points.
The first thing I always think about Robin Ventura is not Nolan Ryan. It is always the hit streak that he had at Oklahoma State.
Oh, yes.
It's always the first thing I think of. I don't know why. 16 years in the big leagues for Ventura, 10 with the White Sox, 3 with the Mets, 2 with the Dodgers, 2 with the Yankees. Let's see, in 1990, he came in 7th in the Rookie of the Year balloting, appeared in 150 games, hit 249, 324 on base, 5 home runs, 54 RBI, and an 83 OPS plus, and that will equal a WAR of 2.4.
Hey, a positive.
Good
Right
news.
on.
Yeah, good news for you. I can see white sanitary socks as well.
Very nice.
So that'll be a 2.5. Let's see. He pitched for the Dodgers in 2004 at one point, which that was his final season in the big leagues. Got into one game, 1 inning pitched, 1 hit. That's it. Finished it up. Got 3 outs.
Big pitching career.
Nice. First round draft pick by the White Sox, 10th overall in 1988. Oh, he was traded by the Mets to the Yankees for former pack-mate or current pack-mate Dave Justice.
I don't remember that trade. You think I would remember that trade?
Synergy right there, huh? Oh, here's another thing, not Nolan Ryan related. Remember he hit the Grand Slam single in Game 5 of the 1999 NLCS?
Jeez, I haven't thought about that in forever.
Yeah, so he would have been a walk-off grand slam, but his teammates mobbed him after he touched first. So he only got credit for a single and 1 RBI, and he was not happy about it. Also went on to manage, of course. I mean, he was a good shortstop. He was always one of the best shortstop, one of the best third basemen.
Yeah, he was solid all the way around. Fantastic ball player.
I am not sure that there's anything pop culture related, really. I mean, you could argue that probably a lot of non-baseball fans have at least seen him getting put in a headlock by Nolan Ryan, but I'm not sure that qualifies as pop culture.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah. So you're down to your final card. You're at 11 even right now.
11 generally won't hold up.
This is me we're talking about, though. Oh. Let's see. You've got a pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, which is your team. So there's a plus 0.5 right off the bat. Pitcher Frank DePino.
I think he was an Astro at some point, I believe.
You are correct. In his 12 years in baseball, he was a Houston Astro for 5, Cardinal and Cub for 3 each, and then a Royal and a Brewer for 1 each. In 1990 with St. Louis, he went 5-2, 4.56 ERA in 62 games, 81 innings pitched, 92 hits, 49 strikeouts, and an 84 ERA plus. And that is good for a WAR of minus 0.7. And if that wasn't good enough news, he's also got 2-1s.
Oh, my goodness.
So that
Thanks a lot, Frankie.
Be a minus 0.8. I like it.
He has the best batting average against for any pitcher who faced Tony Gwynn more than 10 times.
Oh, very nice.
1 for 20 with 3 walks.
Not going to help him here, though.
No, it really won't help me.
No, and that wraps up your pack. Nothing else on this card or in his bio is going to help you. You got a 10.7.
Oof.
Yeah, you've done better. I'm not going to lie. All right, so it is time now for me to open my pack, and let's see what we get. See if I can beat a 10.7.
I'd wish you luck, but I don't want to.
Let's see. My sticker is a big Royal sticker. I'm starting off with an Expo. That's always good. First baseman Wallace Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Hey, you got me on this one.
He looks like a big dude. Let's see, Wallace Johnson. Well, he's only 6 foot, 173. He looks like a giant on this card. Wow, he's tall and skinny, though, apparently. Let's see, 9 years in the big leagues, 9 with Montreal, and then part of a year with the Giants. He was traded midseason of 83 from Montreal to San Francisco and then re-signed in 84 with Montreal and spent the rest of his career there. So they liked him, apparently. Let's see, 1990, his final year, 47 games. He hit 163 with a 281 on base, 1 home run, 5 RBI, and a 49 OPS plus. Still has a WAR of 0.01, or 0.1, I guess would be the case. And he's got a mustache, so at least, you know, I'm trending upwards.
It was better than half my cards. Former major leaguer and TV analyst Hawk Harrelson gave him the nickname Wavin' Wally. Who wants to be called Wavin' Wally?
I'm assuming he struck out a lot.
Wavin' Wally. That's like mediocre Mark.
Let's see. He coached as well, including both Frank Thomas and Vladimir Guerrero.
Wow. Okay. That's something to talk about.
During his time as an Expo, he was teammates with 5 future Hall of Famers that wore Expos jerseys. Gary Carter, Andre Dawson, Tim Raines, Randy Johnson, and Larry Walker.
Wow. Good company.
It's a lot of guys to be in the Hall of Fame that played for the Expos. Okay, next card, number 00. I love it, for the Mariners. Jeffrey Leonard.
Don't call me Jeff.
I prefer that people call me Jeff rather than Jeffrey, but nobody calls me old penitentiary face or anything like that. So I'm also not as surly most of the time. But let's see. Jeffrey Leonard, 14 years in the big leagues, 8 with San Francisco, 4 with the Astros, 2 with your Mariners, 1 with the Dodgers, 1 with the Brewers. In 1990, his final year in the big leagues, 134 games. He hit 251, 305 on base, 10 home runs, 75 RBI, stole 4 bases, which is pretty impressive. 85 OPS plus, and that is good for a minus 1.7 WAR.
Wow, you almost matched my minus 1.8.
What is, I mean, these are both in the final year of these guys' careers. But.
Jeff Leonard, one of my favorite nicknames, Hackman.
Yep, 1 flap down. Remember that when he'd run around with it? Yeah. So he does have a mustache. He does have eye black, so that'll get me at least 0.2 of a point going the right way. Wow, went to the same high school that Wilt Chamberlain and Walt Hazzard went to.
Wow.
I know who those are. Those are baseball. Those are basketball players.
You are correct, sir.
started a foundation called the One Flap Down Foundation to help single parents going through breast cancer treatment. That's good.
Wow, that's neat.
All right. Next, I've got another giant who, well, I like it because he's wearing real stirrups. He has got a mustache. He's got eye black and he's got flip downs. So just right there, I'm getting 0.4 of a point before I even tell you who it is. It is shortstop Jose Uribe. I don't know. Do people remember that chant?
There's probably a couple people listening that know the chant.
Jose, a 10-year veteran, 8 with the Giants, 1 with Houston, 1 with St. Louis. 1990, he was on the 89 World Series team. That's how I know him best. 1990, 138 games. He hit 248, 297 on base, 1 home run, 24 RBI, and a 69. Nice. OPS plus. That's good for a minus 1.1. That 10.7 is looking awfully tough right now. Is all I got to say.
That is terrible.
Good names, but awful seasons that we're looking at here.
Jose Uribe changed his name from Jose Gonzalez Uribe to just Jose Uribe, making him the ultimate player to be named later.
Wait, okay, hold on here. Hold on. There is a whole heading here for 1990 Fleer baseball card.
Really?
I am holding in my hand a 1990s Fleer Jose Uribe baseball card. I'm just going to read this straight off here, so I don't want to mislead anybody. It says, for several years, Jose Uribe's 90 Fleer baseball card was considered a common in a dramatically overproduced baseball set. However, in 2018, several of these cards began selling on eBay for hundreds of thousands of dollars with claims that they are rare. According to eBay sold listings data, some copies of this card have been sold for enormous amounts, though according to Beckett, those sales are dubious at best. Beckett has stated there is nothing rare or uncommon about the card, and its exorbitant asking price in some auctions has no definable merit.
My goodness, that's so weird.
I mean, I can see this one is off center. I'm not going to get a 10 here if I send this in to get it graded, but I think I'm going to throw it up on eBay and just see what I get. I'll start at $10,000. We'll kind of play it by ear from there.
Well, we can quickly check eBay and see what some have sold for. 90 Fleer, $4, dude. $2.50, 99 cents, and that one's graded.
Well, $4 is a lot more than most of these cards are going to get. So
that's a good point.
All right, my next card. I'm at -2, by the way, not minus 0.2, -2. Next card with Atlanta. It's pitcher Kent Mercker.
Mercker was a good pitcher.
He certainly was. I'm reading Chipper Jones' autobiography right now. He talks a lot about Kent Mercker. He's a big pickleball player now, by the way.
Oh,
just
interesting.
Keep catching up with Kent. That's this segment of Catching Up with Kent. Pickleball. All right, let's see. 18 years in the big leagues, 8 with Atlanta, 5 with Cincinnati, 2 with the Cardinals, and then 1 with Colorado, Boston, the Cubs, Anaheim, Cleveland, and Baltimore. In 1990, only his second year in the big leagues, went 4-7 with a 3.17 ERA, 48 and a third innings pitched, 43 hits, 39 strikeouts, a 1.28 ERA plus, and that is good for a WAR of 0.5.
Hey, there you go.
I'm in that. Got a positive number. It's not going to put me in the positives, but first round draft pick, 5th overall in the 86 draft by Atlanta. Let's see. He was traded by the Orioles to Cleveland for Eddie Murray. Not bad.
No. I wish I could have been traded for Eddie Murray.
Especially, spoiler alert, Eddie Murray is the next card in my pack. So,
yeah. There's some points.
Yeah. Let's see here. Nothing else I see here is going to help him. Oh, he did throw a no-hitter. How about that?
There you go.
At least he took part in 2 no-hit games, both with Atlanta. Let's see. Combined Mercker, Mark Wohlers, and Alejandro Pena. And the second was a solo effort. Okay, so he threw a complete game no-hitter in 94. So, wow. 2 no-hitters. That's pretty good. And then played in the 2022 Minto U.S. Open Pickleball Championship.
Huh.
Doesn't say how he did. All right, I might have spoiled it, but my next card is a Hall of Famer. It is none other than Eddie Murray. Now, unfortunately, he's not in an Orioles uniform here, because that would have put me over the top. Eddie is one of those guys I always use an immaculate grid when trying to think of somebody that's played for a couple of teams. He's only played for 5 in 21 years, but Baltimore, the Dodgers, Cleveland, the Mets, and the Angels. But I like to try and get the Mets or the Angels in there because he didn't play long, so hopefully the score will be smaller, is my thinking. But in 1990, with the Dodgers, 155 games, he hit .330, a .414 on base. He came in 5th in the MVP balloting, by the way. He had 3 triples. Eddie Murray.
Wow.
Looking at this, there are only 3 seasons in his 21 years he did not have a triple.
No kidding.
Would have not thought that. 26 home runs, 95 RBI, 8 stolen bases, and a 159 OPS plus. And all of that is a 5.2 WAR.
Whew.
I'm in the positive, baby.
There you go.
Let's see. Also Hall of Famer, so that's a +1. He has got, I think Eddie Murray's going to get a 0.2 of a point mustache as well. This thing is taking over his the lower third of his face. I'm going to have to do it. And if this was old rules, he's wearing a hat underneath his batting helmet here.
Oh, gotcha.
That's a good look, but it's not going to help me at all. We already mentioned, traded for Ken Merker at one point.
Very odd.
Yeah.
But that's how we run it here.
Yeah.
How about this? Was a high school teammate of Ozzie Smith. How'd you like to play those guys?
Yeah, in L.A. And wasn't there, I thought there was somebody else on that team that went on to play in the big leagues too. Like that high school was incredible. Named the 5th best first baseman in Major League history by Bill James.
Nice.
All right. So that takes me up to 4.9. Thank you, Eddie. No pop culture references. Too surly. Between he and Jeffrey Leonard, I have got a surly pack thus far.
Yes, sir. Me.
All right. I've got a Baltimore Oriole, so I like that. That's a positive 0.5 right off the bat. He's got a mustache. I like that. That's a positive 0.1 right off the bat. It is Larry 3 Sheets to the Wind.
Larry Sheets.
8 years in the big league, 6 with Baltimore, 1 with Detroit, and his final year, 1993.
With my Mariners.
With the Mariners. 1990 with Detroit, 131 games, 261 average, 308 on base, 10 home runs, 52 RBI, and a 97 OPS plus, and that is good for a WAR of -1. I just can't win. I can't win.
That's 3 negatives over 1, or 1 or over.
That is ridiculous. What is going on with this pack? Let's see. I'm guessing, he was not in the big leagues. He was playing in Japan. It's for Yokohama Whales, but they're called the Taiyo Whales at that point. Well, good for him. He played in 131 games.
Nice.
So he stuck it out. Hit 308, 26 home runs, and 100 RBI.
Nice.
Can I take the WAR from that year instead?
Let me look at the rules. No.
I thought I had a way in there, but I guess.
A loophole. You were looking for a loophole.
Yeah.
Some of you may have heard of his son, Gavin, plays for the Chicago White Sox.
Oh, really? There you go.
Yes.
I didn't know that. His lack of enthusiasm and commitment to the sport while in the minors frustrated scouts.
Well, yeah.
In a 13-11 loss to the Rangers in 1986, which was the first ever game in Major League Baseball history to feature 3 grand slams, Sheets and Jim Dwyer each hit one in the 4th inning off Bobby Witt and Jeff Russell. All right. No pop culture references. He seemed like prime Sabrina the Teenage Witch fodder, but I guess not. Let's see. Next. We know all about this guy. It's second baseman for the Astros, Bill Doran.
Interesting note about Bill Doran. He was in my pack.
Fun fact, displayed in the clubhouse. So we're not going to go over any of that except for remember that, he had a WAR of 3.4. I'll take it.
Wow.
And that was it. So that takes me up to 7.9. I've got 2 cards left. The next card, fun fact about this next card, he too was in your pick. Walt Weiss.
Another good score, too.
Yeah, I think this is another good.
How can I beat you if you get all the good players I had?
How in a rack pack where you're giving a person 3 packs at a time, all in the same package, are you putting duplicates out? It doesn't make sense. Let's see. So that's a 4.2. He's got eye black and glasses. So that'll be a plus 4.6. And with that will take me up to 12.5.
You took all my good points. That's not even right.
I traded for them. This is baseball. I traded for them.
You must have.
And then I've got 1 card left, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, wow.
This is a great comeback. This is like hitting 3 grand slams in the final inning. It is a league standouts card, and it is Barry Larkin. In 1990, first of all, Barry Larkin was an all-star. I like that. 158 games, 301 average, 358 on base, 7 home runs, 67 RBI, 30 stolen bases, and a 104 OPS. And he came in 7th in the MVP voting, and that is good for a 5.7. He's a Hall of Famer, so that's 6.7. He has got real stirrups and a mustache, so that is 6.9. He does have on Mims bands, but that is not a thing in our rules anymore, unfortunately, because I really wanted to kind of pour it on here on this late.
Yeah, thanks.
Thing. First round draft pick, 4th overall by the Reds in 1985. I'm not sure that there's any Barry Larkin pop culture.
There might be. I mean, I've seen him as like an analyst.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, that doesn't count, but
yeah, he's an analyst on Bally for the Reds, but I am not sure that he has been on TV or had a song named after him. Let's see, he named one of his daughters in honor of Shea Stadium.
That's kind of cool.
Brielle DeShea Larkin. And that's about it. So I'll take my 6.9. Nice. And that will take me up to 19.4. If you remember, like 4 cards in, I was -2.
Slow rolled me, man.
So what that does, looking at the scoreboard, I am now up to 10 wins, and I'm on a streak. You are at 7.
I'm struggling.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it, but it's going well for me here recently. That's going to wrap up this episode, though, of Wax Packs Heroes. Also going to take us to the end of this podcast. That's not forever. I mean, just till next week.
No, we hope not.
Yeah, just till next week. We haven't been canceled yet. Mainly because nobody's paying us or helping us.
So it's hard to cancel us.
Yeah, we can pretty much do what we want. But if you cannot get enough of us, you can find us on all the social medias. All the links are in the show notes or wherever you go. Not just on the internet, but in life. If you look up 2 Strike Noise, TWO Strike Noise, you'll find us. We'll be there, and we'll be there for you. Just like friends. Let's see, Mark, they also have an email address that they can get to us.
Yeah, you can write to us at 2 Strike Noise. Make sure you spell it out. Don't use that silly number. TWO Strike Noise @gmail.com.
All right, that'll do it for this show. We appreciate everybody tuning in. And you know what? We'll see you again next week on the next episode of 2 Strike Noise.
Thank you. God bless you. Have a great day.